It's time for for loops. I really like for loops. What can I say? Okay, open a new notebook and let us sensibly title it for loops. Okay, we'll loop through some different types so you can get used to it. For loops. And I'm going to go ahead and give these little subheaders. So we're going to start with range. Okay, so let's start with range. Sometimes with the subheaders I use 1 or 2 hashtags because you could have a header titled for loops. And I'll just use 1 in this case. You can always go back and change later if your notebook gets larger. So let's start with range. Move it on up to the top and let's look at an example. So what might the instructions be? How about print out the first, I say print out, but it could be like display. Print out the first, we won't make it too big, 20 numbers, right? Well, you could write print 1. This is what I mean. You could go like this, print 1. You could do it just like that, I think, print 1. Doesn't have to be a string, does it? Let's see. See, I'm experimenting. Like, will this work? Yeah. So you can, it's not a string, but you can print it out. Print 2. Okay, so do this with me. Print 3. I'm just kidding. Don't do this with me. We're going to use a for loop. That's tedious. Anytime you ever find yourself repeating code, there is a better way. If you want to get good at coding, that's what you do. If you ever find yourself copying and pasting code, don't do it. There's a better way. Okay, in this case, it's the for loop, right? So, oh, by the way, and for those of you who may have noticed, I turned off my force click thing, haptic feedback that was causing all these extra things I didn't want. So I'm pressing, I guess, too hard on the trackpad. Okay, so we were using a for loop. For I in range 20. Okay, let's look at that for a second. For is colored. I is your choice of variable. Pick whatever you want, okay? In, you need that. That's a keyword that goes with for. And then range of 20. Okay, that's like the first 20 numbers, but note it starts with 0. So I won't press return. I get the 4 spaces tabbed, and then it's print I. Okay, it prints out the variable. Press shift enter, and you can see 20 numbers going from 0 to 19. Now, what if we want to modify it and say print numbers 1 through 20, right? That was 0 through 19. Well, you can do a little more with range, okay? For I in range, you can pick a starting and stopping point. So you can start at 1. Now, if you stop at 20, it will not include it. You want to go to 21, I believe, right? Because before it ends at 20, it doesn't include it. Press the colon, and then it's simply print I. Shift enter. And you can see it starts at 1 and ends at 20. So you can have a starting and ending with range, which is really nice. One more thing you can do with range is, let's say we want to print first. Should we just get big? I don't know. I think we're going to take up too much space in our notebooks, but it's kind of fun just to like go a little bigger. How about print first 1,000 even numbers? All right. What's the best code for that? Well, for I in range. Now, this is kind of interesting. So if we start at, we got to pick a starting and stopping, really. Like it should go from like 2 to 2,000. So if we start at 2, right, that's the first one. We end at 2001. But then there's one more thing you can actually specify. I want to count by 2s. Isn't that cool? And then so once again, you can do print I. So what we're seeing here, there are some extensions you can do with range. One is you can pick the starting, here's 2, the ending, which does not include it, which is 2001, and even the amount of numbers in between. Okay, so this may seem like a lot, printing the first 1,000 numbers, which is kind of fun. You can see what Colab does is it shows a selection so as not to like burden you with like too much screen space, albeit a big selection. And you can see that there's actually there's this bar, okay, which scrolls inside of the cell, but you can click outside and there's this bigger bar which will just go up to it. Okay, so these are designed to manage big outputs. All right, so there's a little introduction to for loops with range.